Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
Hello and welcome to episode 99, guys.
Oh my god.
In case you forgot what podcast this is or you came upon it on mistake, this is Twisted and Uncorked. We are almost at 100 episodes. It feels really surreal. I feel like me and Sierra just met and we were recording awkwardly talking about Ted Bundy like it was yesterday. But we're here.
We're here and way less awkward.
Yeah, we're way less awkward. We're way meaner to each other, but that's fine.
And we giggle too much.
Apparently. But in all seriousness, thank you guys so much for listening. It's like really humbling. Our downloads keep going up. That's the goal. So thank you for telling your friends and family and tuning into our twisted weirdness every week.
Yes, thank you. And in all seriousness, we take reviews seriously. We're sorry for giggling. We'll try not to, but we're just giggly people.
Yeah, we, I think, disclosed on like episode 3 that we're both awkward laughers. And yeah. I am the worst between the two of us. So we do take everything we're doing seriously. We're so happy you guys are loving our stories. So we hear you. We recognize that there's a time and a place, but we're still going to be us. So
yeah,
hopefully you still like it.
Also, we're the same person. So things that I think are funny, although you might not, she does. So we laugh at each other, okay?
Oh,
we think we're funny.
Yeah, we are funny. A lot of other people do too. So, I mean, but thank you. But we also got another good review, and we appreciate that as well. So go leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening now. It is the best way to spread the word, and we do draws for Patreon every month, and we post 6 episodes a month on there. So lots of content, yes. Lots of our laughing for you. But we are on special topic today. I kind of mentioned it last week that we're breaking up our special topics in amidst our 100th episode special. So I'm going today with the special topic voted on by you guys, and Sierra is going to go in 3 weeks after our 100th episode bonus. So yeah, right. You guys just get a lot of content. And you guys voted on circus crimes for this month, so that's super fun. Thank you for your suggestions.
Yeah, I was just telling Alecia, so when she told me that that's what was voted on, I was like, what the fuck is a circus crime? This is going to be so hard to do. And then right before we started this, I was telling her how I finally found what I wanted to do. I typed it up. I wrote it out. I'm done with it. And then I found another one.
So clearly not that hard. So, you guys know what you're doing.
Not that hard. Yeah. I should just trust it.
Yeah. Well, we thought the same thing with like everyone, like weird weapons. You chose sleepwalking crimes. Like it happens. But it gives us a chance to cover, like I say, every special topic, an episode that we might not be able to do normally. So, and this is definitely one of those cases that I'm telling you guys today. We have a Poodle King, as he is known as, and he was brutally murdered. But first, Sierra, do you have a fun fact for me?
My fun fact is from my big book of extraordinary facts. And it says, Pope Formosus died in 896, but that did not stop him from standing trial for perjury a year later in 897.
I'm sorry, what?
His corpse was disinterred, dressed in papal robes, tried, found guilty, and thrown into the Tiber River.
Sorry, they tried a dead guy and then threw him into a river?
Yes, they tried a dead guy, found him guilty, and threw him in the river.
Okay, what? I think like 20 episodes ago I told you about somebody trying a pig and putting it in clothes. Somehow putting a dead guy in clothes is worse.
You know what's hilarious? The pig episode that you did, it was episode 71 about the Salem witch trials. I was literally just listening to it a second ago.
That's insane. What?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did he do again? What did he do again?
Perjury. So he just lied. But he was the Pope. Pope can't lie.
I'm sorry, but is I know that we've come a long way since 893, but can you try? Can a dead guy have a fair trial?
No, definitely
What
not.
the
I don't
fuck?
know if they were worried much about fairness in 897, but yeah.
I've officially heard it all. 100 episodes later, we're done here. Um,
I love that it's
fuck?
also 897. Like, I keep
Yeah.
wanting to say 18.
Yeah, I
No,
was
it's
like,
8.
no, did she say that
897.
wrong? What the fuck, man? All right. Well, I've officially almost heard it all. And so have you guys. Mine is about circuses in honor of today's special
Oh,
topic. So I have two
yes.
super short fun facts for you. One is that once a performer's wardrobe trunk is set down backstage, it's considered bad luck to move it before the circus relocates to the next location.
Oh,
So
that's
put your
interesting.
trunk where you're going to be comfy because you're not allowed to move it.
Yeah.
2, in circus lingo, a strolling vendor who sells concession items like popcorn, toys, etc. to the audience is called a butcher, which I think is morbid
butcher?
and unfitting for that job, but
That is very strange. I wonder if it's because in medieval times they sold big old hunks of meat.
that's
And he probably chopped it up.
That's true. You know what? That makes sense. And
Yep, I think that's
also,
it.
as I
We've
learned in my
solved it.
notes, circuses have been around for 2,000 years, so that checks out.
Yeah.
We solved the mystery, guys. I also draw the line at like buying big hunks of meat from somebody's cart. Like I'd rather not do that.
Have you ever been to a medieval times, like the amusement?
No. But
I
at the
went
Peony
once,
they sell
and-
turkey legs. So
Yeah.
that's what I imagine it's like. Kevin
Yes.
got one. I was like, I'm good.
They're delicious.
I don't
Honestly.
doubt it, but something about walking around
Yeah.
with like greasy meat
Yeah.
when I'm trying
Yeah.
to do things is hard.
Well,
I just
it's
made
more
myself
fun at
sound really
medieval
prissy,
times.
but-
Oh my fucking
yes,
God.
because you
Because
had
you're
no other
sitting.
choice. Yeah, exactly.
Well, medieval times is a show. It's a jousting show.
Not a medieval fair? Okay, that's different.
I mean, it
Okay.
is both, and it's not like the. What are you thinking of? Medieval.
Like
Renaissance fair.
Yeah, Renaissance fair. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So medieval times is a company. Like you can Google it. They have locations. It's like Disney World, except it's a performance. You go and you see knights jousting.
Oh, so
and they
you're like
serve
in
you-
an arena. Okay.
Yes, it
That's
looks like a
fun.
circus,
I'm good
and
with
they're
that.
serving you stuff.
I'm
yeah,
just against walking around with it like
Right.
a barbarian.
yeah. I never get. They sell turkey legs at the fairs here.
Also, why
still.
are they so big?
never
I can't
do that.
finish
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Like I feel like can I have half the turkey leg and then maybe? But
I don't understand where they get them from because I swear to God, at Thanksgiving when people go buy turkeys, their legs are not that big.
no, I agree. I think they're pterodactyl legs. I think that's what's happening.
That must be it.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me. It's
Yeah.
a pterodactyl leg.
Or maybe the reason Mothmen are so hard to find is because they're capturing them and selling us their
Yeah.
big old legs.
No, that's
Yeah,
so
it's sad.
sad. No, not our anti-hero. I just thought of Mothman being in a cage. Like, just no. Oh, that actually
I
almost made me
know.
cry. And he might not even be real. Wow. Wow. Well, thanks for ruining my day.
Sorry.
And I don't even have wine to cope with that fact. God
Right.
damn it,
So
woman.
it is, as we're recording this, we are recording this in January, but this is our first February episode. And as a February episode, we have decided that in February we are taking the dry, what is it called? Dry February? Is that right?
Yes.
The Dry
For
February
the
challenge.
podcast to raise money for Cancer Society and to focus in on our own health at the same time.
Right.
So I've
have
already
a
registered us. Our link
I have a
will
cup of
be in
chocolate
this
milk.
note. I have nothing. Water doesn't hit the same when you're recording, okay, guys?
yeah.
So the donation link will be in our show notes. All Patreon pledges for the month of February will go towards that, as well as our ad money. And then Sierra and I announced on last week's episode that we are donating what we would have spent in wine for the month to that as well. So
Correct.
our goal is $200. That seems very easy to come up with in 1 month, including our own pledges. So if you guys feel so inclined and you don't want to be a patron or do a buy me a coffee situation, you can just donate a couple of dollars there. And it really helps. You can also write a message. So if you want to write how you've been affected by cancer in some way, that would be meaningful for us to see as well. So yeah.
Love it.
And in place of wine this week, and in recognition of what we are doing here, I was going to share a little health tip that Sierra and I have been doing. Apple cider vinegar.
Yes.
We have been enjoying that with hot water, honey, lemon, and cinnamon, and it makes for a perfect before bed sleepy time tea, weirdly enough.
Yes, it really, really does. And also, the reason I even have this chocolate milk, I don't buy chocolate milk, but I bought chocolate almond milk because apparently, and I tried it and it works, there's
Chocolate almond
a
milk is so
recipe.
good.
There's a recipe for a breakfast smoothie with apple cider vinegar, and it's just, 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with chocolate almond milk, chocolate protein powder, peanut butter, and banana, and you cannot even taste the
Which is
apple
so
cider vinegar in it.
surprising to me because that
Yeah.
is very intense. I tried putting it in a berry smoothie the other day. I could taste it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to try your recipe. But it's a great way to sneak in apple cider vinegar, which is great for your hair, skin, nails, your gut health, and it also improves nutrient absorption. So if you have it before a meal, it opens up all your microvilli in your intestines to absorb nutrients. So fun facts all around, guys. If
All
you have a
around.
health tip you want to share for February or how you're focusing in on yourself, write that into twistedanduncorked@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So we love you guys. Thank you so much. Before we get to this week's special topic on circus crimes, and my case, we are going to hear a quick promo from a podcast on Elm Street. And we will be right back. Welcome back. So, for my circus crime today, I am telling you about the Poodle King, Gerard Homer Souls. He was born on August 3rd, 1936.
What is up with you and all of these August days? The last episode that we did with Nick, you had something that happened on August 2nd, and that's Sissy's birthday.
Is it?
This one's August 3rd, and that's my mom's birthday.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Targeting your family.
You're targeting Leos.
Apparently. You know what? As soon as you learn about this man's, you will know that he is 100% a Leo.
Oh gosh.
It's in a beautiful way. He
Okay.
would later go on to become a famous trapeze artist with the Ringling Brothers, which was a traveling circus company until 2017, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
That's when they were disbanded. Sierra is a ghost. So Gerard would dazzle and performed in the center ring for 5 years. His act was particularly unique because of the use of his beloved poodles that would wear fancy little outfits and do different tricks and stuff. It was super
On the
cute.
trapeze?
No. This
Oh,
is
thank
after
God.
the trapeze.
Okay,
This is on the floor. The poodles, to clarify, are not on the trapeze. That is animal abuse, I feel like.
Yeah.
What most of the circus was animal abuse, but that's a separate problem. His last performance would be for Queen Elizabeth before he was brutally murdered.
Oh no.
In June of 1992, prosecutors charged his one-time fling, Fred Steese, with his murder. But it was clear from the evidence that Fred wasn't even in Nevada at the time of the murder. And this isn't like DNA evidence because it's the 90s and things were dicey in Nevada as it was. But there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that we will get to that the whole trial was a circus, no pun intended. So
Yeah.
many believe that these allegations were hate-based on the gay relationship between the two men and lazy detective work, just wanting to solve a big case. But I will let you guys decide. Gerard, who preferred to go by Jerry, had grown up devoutly Catholic in the 1940s in a blue-collar Michigan world. When he came out as gay to his mom as a teenager, his family actually accepted it, and the time and place, that was incredibly rare. So he had a good family life. Jerry still left home at 16 to join the circus, wanting to take his flair for performing to the big stages. But after a trapeze accident in his late 20s, he reinvented himself as a ringmaster of a pack of well-dressed poodles. In 1992, Jerry took his act to Circus in Las Vegas, where 6 days a week, his 14 poodles hopped on their hind legs across the stage.
That's adorable.
I know. I have photos. It's so great.
Oh, gosh.
Now, this was unique because this was a circus casino. And basically, you could go in, you could gamble, you could go to the buffet, you could drink, you could hang out with your friends. But there was artists performing above you and on the second floor and all around you. So it was just like a circus casino. I kind of dig it. It doesn't exist anymore. I did look it up. I'm upset about it. I don't know what that casino is currently. I couldn't find that, but Circus is no more. Jerry was starting to lose some of his spirit. He was very lonely after his partner of several decades had died, and I could not find out how or when. But he was 55 at this time, so it's possible that something health-related or an accident occurred.
Right.
Either way, he was deeply upset and looking for companionship. It also didn't help his spirits that the casino wouldn't let him stay at its own RV park with his poodles because he had too many poodles, and he had to live in the much less desirable northern part of Las Vegas.
Oi, with the poodles already.
I know. But if you've ever been to Vegas, listeners, this is like the older part of Vegas today, where it still smells heavily like cigarettes and death. They have really good really good buffets down there, though. So if you're looking for cheap eats in Vegas, go to the northern part of the strip. Me and Kevin went there on our last day, and I'm glad we went there on our last day, but it was good food. One May day in 1992, Jerry had spied. I think that meant to say spotted, because spied is creepy. The young
I spy
Fred
with my
Steef.
little eye.
Yeah, exactly. He was disheveled and dirty, his hair was bleached sandy blonde by the sun, and he was holding a "will work for food" sign. Jerry pulled up and offered to take Fred for a meal. He was looking for a friend, and it was clear that Fred was down on his luck. It also didn't hurt that Fred was good-looking, with his blue eyes, easy smile, and infectious laugh. Stood. Over dinner, Jerry revealed that he was gay, and Fred was very so, and disclosed that he was bisexual. Previously, Fred had hustled gay men for food, money, and companionship most of his life, and he didn't think this interaction was going to be any differently, but whether or not he actually liked Jerry or not, or if this was just a means of survival, is up for debate. Fred Steef had been more or less on his own since his mother had abandoned him when he was 10 years old.
Oh, goodness.
I know. After that, he bounced around through 37 foster placements, which was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
As a teenager, he wandered into a homeless camp outside of Phoenix, Arizona, where an old-timer introduced him to riding the rails and being able to travel through town. He had been chasing a connection ever since, looking for someone that would care for him. Which, by the way, I had to Google what riding the rails meant, because in my head, at first glance, I was like, yeah, that's when you just hop on a train. And then I got nervous that it meant cocaine or something. It's gonna sound really dumb because I know nothing about drugs. We're good, guys. So Jerry would offer Fred a job as his assistant. It just so happened that he had fired his last one. Alexander Kolupiov. It's a Russian last name. I'm trying.
Uh-huh.
There's vowels where vowels shouldn't be.
Yeah.
He was a Russian defector with receding red hair who was always short on cash and constantly non-compliant. So not the vibe you're looking for in an employee.
Yeah.
Hence why he was fired. Jerry and Fred also began a casual affair. No strings attached. Being together just felt good, and Fred was thankful for the opportunity. Just as Fred was settling in, the event manager at the casino told him that he needed a work permit for his job there, and he didn't want to apply for one as he was wanted for violating parole in Florida. He had been using the alias Fred Burke, but at this point it felt too risky. He told Jerry thank you for the job and resigned. I don't know what my voice is doing. It needs to stop. He told Jerry thank you for the job, opportunity, and resigned. When he had panhandled enough cash for liquor, he hopped on a train heading north. So you gotta have a road pop. Am I right?
Of
As
course.
I say that in dry February. 6 days later, when Jerry Souls didn't show up for work, his boss went to his home and heard the usually quiet and well-trained poodles barking excitedly. He banged on the door, calling Jerry's name, and knew that something was not right. So he called
Wait, so it's right after Fred left, Jerry was found?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this doesn't look good for Fred.
Well, 6 days later, Jerry was found. I know, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. Which is part of why I'm excited to talk to you about this, because there's a lot of weird things. But yeah, it was 6 days later, and he was nervous about what he was going to find inside, so he grabbed the RV park security guard for assistance. And after not getting a response and hearing no signs of life inside, they knew that it was not good, and 911 was called.
Twisted and Uncorked will be right back. If you prefer not to listen to ad breaks, head on over to patreon.com/twistedanduncorked for more information on receiving ad-free episodes.
So inside, detectives found Jerry's belongings scattered around his trailer. The TV and VCR cabinet was empty, which is like a sign of the times. No one's going to steal your VCR now. Which, by the way, I have a VCR and I am proud of it. This was before Disney Plus, guys.
I had a VCR and a tote full of Disney VHS tapes for the longest time until I think when we moved to Tennessee. I was like, I don't need these.
No, you do.
And I got rid of them.
Money now.
And then like a year later, it's like, nostalgia.
Maybe they are worth money.
Yes. They are. Like, the original Little Mermaid cover art is worth a lot.
Isn't the original Little Mermaid artwork, like, inappropriate as hell?
Yeah, it has a penis.
Apparently.
The castle is shaped like a penis.
Maybe we will do the hidden penises of Disney one day, because apparently there's a few.
There's a lot.
I know.
There is.
Like, what? Who?
And it's not just Disney. Nickelodeon did it, too.
Who, like, is working with kid shows and is like, yeah, I'm kind of bored. Just gonna hide a penis in here.
Yeah, because they assume, I mean, kind of rightfully, the kid isn't gonna notice, but the parent's gonna get a kick out of it, you know?
Are they gonna get a kick out of it, or are they gonna be like, what the fuck? Like, we need to get rid of this.
Today, us parents get a kick out of it. Back then, they probably were pissed.
Stay tuned for a future Patreon episode, guys. It's sure to be a delight. But yes, the Disney penis VHS covers were not sought after, but VCRs were, and the cabinets were empty. Blood soaked the mattress and trailed across the length of the trailer to the bathroom, where Jerry lay naked. His face was covered by an orange towel, and more blood was spattered on the bathroom mirror, the counter, the toilet, and the tub around him. Jerry's throat had been slashed, and he had been stabbed so many times that the coroner stopped counting after 35.
Jeez.
So unsettling. Investigators immediately got to work tracing Jerry's last movements and interactions. One name that came up was, of course, Fred, as he had just been working with him. That, and they were able to track him down after a letter arrived at Jerry's trailer for him. Something weird that was reported in this letter was details about Jerry's... Yes, I had the name right. Was details about Jerry's having been dead. And, like, he was dead, but the letter was there already. So weird. When detectives...
And Fred sent this letter?
No, somebody sent the letter to Fred.
Oh, okay.
So weird. So, like, he had already talked to somebody about Jerry's death before the letter arrived.
Wow, okay.
Weird. Keep that in mind. When detectives were able to contact him via phone, he agreed to come back to Nevada for questioning. He hopped on a train going the wrong way and ended up in Wisconsin, but then corrected himself by stealing a semi-truck and driving 30 hours to Nevada.
That sounds like a bad correction.
Yeah. Sounds like maybe you just let them know you got on the wrong train and you're still coming.
Or you rent or buy a car instead of stealing one.
Well, he's down on his luck. I mean, he had to panhandle for liquor, Sierra. Come on.
Well, you can panhandle for a ride, too.
Don't hitchhike, people. We're not going back
Sometimes
to episode
it's
1
fun.
with hitchhiking childhood dreams, okay? Do not listen to Sierra. So, at first, he denied any involvement in Jerry's murder. But the detectives told him that they thought he was lying. They intimidated him. And almost as if he was toying with the investigators, or as if he was genuinely scared and not sure what to do, he was like, "You want a story? I'll tell you a story." And he told them that Jerry had tied him up and tried to sexually assault him with a plunger. When investigators countered this story, revealing details of the crime scene, Fred changed his story 5 more times, each time trying to better suit the crime scene.
Fred
or
looks
better
really
trying to
fucking
please what they're telling him.
bad. Okay.
After about 5 hours of interrogating, Fred signed a confession. He just wanted to sleep. He had not rested since he left Wisconsin. Throughout his childhood, Fred had scored between 70 and 80 on IQ tests, which mean nothing, putting him at the bottom of the normal range.
Mm-hmm.
He had only achieved his GED recently while imprisoned for a hapless bank robbery. Fred continued to state that he had no reason to hurt Jerry and that he had given him an opportunity and a friendship. This to me gave some serious West Memphis 3 vibes, that he was
Yeah, that's what I'm
bullied
thinking.
during this interrogation against someone that was overly tired with a lower IQ, was just trying to please the investigators so he could go home, and he was a person that would fit the bill to close the case. These are just my thoughts, though. This is further fueled by the fact that Fred was locked in a small interrogation room and given a questionnaire about the murder. 45 minutes later, he had written just a handful of paragraphs, riddled with grammar and spelling mistakes. One, even his own name, where he had lacked the second E in Frederick. So, like, just saying, this is not the first time we have seen this, if this is what has happened.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Even though this seemed like an open and shut case, it would be 2 years before Fred would go to trial. Meanwhile, his defense team assembled 14 witnesses and documentation that proved that Fred wasn't even in Nevada, but was actually in Idaho at the time of the murder. In October of 1994, this alibi was looked into. Prosecution would argue that it was not Fred that witnesses had seen in Idaho, but it was his brother, who looked a hell of a lot like him, named Robert Steese. In January of 1995, the trial began, and it was an absolute circus. There were dismissals and arguments and objections being tossed around at every minute, And this was a high-profile case. It was the Poodle King. Both sides had a lot to lose based on who would win, because it's a media circus and not about who the fuck actually killed this person.
Right.
Two of the prosecuting witnesses identified Fred out of a photo lineup as the man that they had seen in Idaho. And these lineups actually included his brother Robert.
Wow. Smart.
Right? They weren't ready to give up, though, because they had a star witness. Michael Moore was a neighbor of Jerry's and had
What?
identified...
Sorry.
Yeah,
You
his name
said
is Michael Moore. Yeah. No, his name is Michael Moore. Sorry.
Okay.
Skip past that like it was a normal everyday name. He was a neighbor of Jerry's and identified Fred as the man he had seen outside of the trailer the day before the murders in court. Super weird, though, because I think he was bribed. Because initially when he spoke to investigators following the murders, so this is like 2 years before that he had already talked to police, he had said that the man that he saw outside of Jerry's trailer was a short man with red hair that was receding. A description that perfectly fit Alexander Klipilov. Sorry.
The disgruntled ex-employee.
Yes, the disgruntled ex-employee. He had been convicted of a jewelry heist shortly after the murder and would eventually be deported back to Russia. He was never investigated further in this case. The prosecution also relied heavily on his signed confession, but Fred's defense was simple. He wasn't in the state at the time of the murder and could not have killed Jerry. There were witnesses that have interacted with him over 7 days leading to the murders, and there was also a sign-in book at the Salvation Army with his signature on it. The same one signed on the confession, so it's not like it was doctored in any way, it was his confession. He had falsely confessed because he was tired, coming down off of drugs and alcohol, frightened, and of low intelligence. This is their words, not mine.
Yeah.
Fred testified that after he had left Las Vegas, he stopped in Salt Lake City and then bumped into a man named Ron Boutier in the train yard in it's spelled like your sister's name. Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Cheyenne, Wyoming. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Robert took him to the local Salvation Army and they scrawled their names on the Monday, May 31st sign-in sheet. Fred also stated that Ron had invited him to stay with him and his grandparents in Idaho until he could get back on his feet. The Boutier family identified him in court as the man that they had spent time with. A few days into their arrangement, though, he and Ron got into a fight and Fred took off, showing up on June 8th at the same Salvation Army where he put down 2 names on the welfare assistance form because an employee, she had testified this as well, saying that she would give him double the goods that way even if he was just one person. I apologize, I hit my glass with my headphone cord. The prosecution continued that their Robert theory, even though Robert himself was never produced in court. They also brought in a blown-up copy of the Salvation Army sign-in sheet, but instead of Fred's signatures, it had one of the prosecuting officers proving how easy it is to doctor a photo, and without the original book, it should not be allowed to be used, because it couldn't prove that it was possibly his signature. The jury deliberated for almost 2 full days before rendering a guilty verdict.
Ugh.
After the trial, the prosecutors dropped the death penalty, but Fred was sentenced to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Why 2? Only 1 person died.
In October of 2012, we're going way forward here, a judge declared that Fred, after spending 20 years in prison, was innocent. After investigators took another look at the case and dismantled the prosecution's entire argument. It was an extraordinary ruling, unprecedented in that court, but the Clark County District Attorney was not willing to free him that easily. Prosecutors vowed to put him through lengthy appeals or even retry him. The process would take years. Or, if Fred just wanted to be released on this account alone, the prosecutors had a tantalizing proposition that he could agree to an Alfred plea.
Okay. Are we covering the West Memphis case right now? Because...
So sorry. I picked this before even, like, I just saw Poodle King and I was
right.
The Alfred plea, as a reminder to our listeners, allows defendants to maintain their innocence while at the same time pleading guilty. So there's, like, enough on both sides. It's like you can't really prove it, you can't really not prove it, but legally you are still a convicted felon if you take this plea.
The Alfred plea is literally a law that was made for police officers to cover their own ass.
Basically.
Because it is literally saying there is not enough for you to stay in jail, which means you're innocent.
Yep.
Because you can't be proven guilty
Which is
beyond
why
a reasonable
I don't
doubt.
think he did it.
But...
based on all the evidence plus this.
Right.
That they were willing
but
to
it
offer him
also makes you still have to say you're guilty so the police don't have to reopen the investigation. Which makes no fucking sense.
And it's sad, too, because the ultimate victim in this case, yes, Fred is a victim in itself. He lost 20 years of his life to this whole scenario. But the murder of Jerry is still unsolved. Yeah. Like, somebody still did this to him. So, Fred Stace. I did not hear it in an interview, but I'm just basing it off of my own pronunciation. His case exposed the rot in the system that robbed him of 2 decades of his life. Yet, even the prosecutors worked to keep it hidden, forcing him into an almost incomprehensible choice. Risk freedom to fight for an uncertain exoneration that might take years and might even get the same verdict, or confess to a crime that he didn't commit and walk away. Fred did go through with the Alfred plea. He just wanted to move on with his life. So on paper, the case is solved, but in my opinion, it really isn't. And the killer responsible for Jerry Sousa's death is still at large. Please, Sierra, let me know your theories and thoughts here on this.
Well, while you were telling it, I was thinking that although I wanted Fred to be innocent, it doesn't look good.
Does not look good. How did he know that Jerry was dead? Yeah.
And when you leave town right after a murder or right before, we don't know what day he was murdered,
Yeah, that's not clear either.
People, even if they thought they knew, science wasn't great, even in 96. So, who knows, maybe he could have murdered him and then ran straight to Idaho, whatever it was, and he had been dead for 6 days. We don't know.
How long would it take to drive from Nevada to Idaho? We're going to look it up.
Probably like 7 hours. It's not that far.
Not asking you for a flight. Google. Okay. 9 hours and 39 minutes.
Yeah, so, I mean, 1 day. Less than a day. So, I don't know.
It's not
impossible. It didn't look good. However, whenever the Alfred plea is placed up there, I know that police do not, and I knew before, even the Alfred plea was placed on there, whether or not he did it, there is not enough evidence to prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So he never should have been in jail. He never should have had this charge, this conviction.
20 years, like the poor guy.
Whether or not someone did something, you have to follow the rules. And prosecutors think so much that they can get by with the rules. Like, I get that a jury found him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's because of all the lies that you told them.
Yeah,
you should be on trial for perjury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there are a
ridiculous.
few things that aren't like that are admissible that make me doubt it, and why I don't think it should have been beyond a reasonable doubt is the sign-in book and the family that had him come and live with him. Like, maybe during his time living with Jerry, he knew that he had pissed somebody off, or he knew that something was wrong, which is how he knew that somebody wanted to murder him. Even if he wasn't responsible, he still didn't stay behind and find out about it. It just doesn't look good when you're talking about it before it's even happened or after it happened. I think that it's also wrong that Alexander wasn't looked into more if he was a disgruntled ex-employee and he had been seen outside of the trailer. That's
he
a
had
little
way
suspicious.
more motive
I agree.
to me.
He had more motive. Like Fred had said over and over again, he didn't have a reason to hurt Jerry. He had given him a job, a meal, and a place to live when he didn't have any of those things. That and the low IQ thing and the, 5 hours of interrogation after he had already been up for over 40 hours. Like, all of that is wrong to me. That's like a violation of human rights. Like, you shouldn't have to answer questions. And what the fuck is this murder questionnaire? Like, what is that?
Yeah, it sounds
A,
all
he
very
was stabbed.
forced.
B, he was strangled. Like, what does that say?
Yeah, I understand why they chose him as a suspect, but I think they honed in too hard, and they should have realized after looking into it, okay, this was a suspect, but this isn't our guy. Let's mark him off and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think it was just a high-profile case in the 90s that they wanted solved.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Whether he's guilty or not, Jerry's family still deserves answers. His sister said that she still has the pinky ring that he wore that was returned from the coroner's office that still has blood on it. And she refuses to wash it or anything because she's like, it might have the killer's blood on it. Yeah. And maybe one day they'll reopen it or retest it. It's unclear, but it's a crazy case nonetheless. And, Jerry's still the victim in this, and his murder deserves to be solved.
Yeah.
And proven beyond all of this bullshit, ego battle in court. So, I want to believe that Fred's innocent, but I don't know either, so. No one can say for sure.
Yeah.
But that is my circus crime.
It was a good one. I'm glad you covered it. I've never heard of it.
Before we roll on out of here, Sierra, what day is it today?
Today is February 7th. And on this day, in 2018...
I'm scared.
Not that long ago, a DNA study was published that said all citrus fruit can be traced to the same place, the southeast foothills of the Himalayas. All citrus fruit comes from the Himalayas.
What?
Fucking crazy.
Citrus
I'm going to keep
DNA.
that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to keep that in mind because I actually have a interesting conspiracy that I'm going to do in a couple
Is it about
weeks.
citrus fruit?
It's not about citrus fruit, but it will bring into mind that all citrus fruit is from the same place.
That's insane.
Keep that in mind. That is insane.
Put a pin in that, guys. What?
Yeah. It's crazy.
I have an orange in my fridge that I bought
came from
on
the Himalayas.
Tuesday, apparently.
Or at least its great-great-great-great-great-grandpa did.
Well, when I'm cutting it open tomorrow to eat it, I will be sure to ask it about its grandparents.
Yeah.
Well, that sounded so sad. Well, that's super interesting. Thank you guys again for listening to 99 episodes of this insanity. Technically more because we've had multiple parts. So if you've been listening since day one, you deserve a gold star.
And bonuses every month.
Yeah, I know. Thank you guys so much for listening. We honestly could not do this without you. Again, we could, but we'd just be talking to each other. So knowing that you guys are listening and enjoying it really does
and honestly,
mean a lot.
We couldn't, because a lot of our case suggestions and topic ideas come from you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But we really do appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week for our 100th episode. Sierra's been working really hard on it, and then after that you will hear Sierra's Circus Crime. And in the meantime,
keep it twisted.
Thank you for listening to Twisted and Uncorked podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can also check out all of our sources and materials, as well as photos for the episode, on our website at twistedanduncorked.com. And you can follow us on social media at Twisted and Uncorked or Twisted_pod on Twitter. Thank you so much for all of your love and support, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode. Cheers!